No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of AEW Dynamite, AEW Dynamite for February 21st, 2024. We have Revolution coming up in about a week and a half. It's coming up soon. Let's get to this Dynamite recap. We kicked off the show with Jon Moxley and Claudio, the Blackpool Combat Club, going up against FTR. Back and forth match here between these two teams. A long match. It had a 20-minute time limit. You had Justin Roberts announcing 10 minutes gone by, 15 minutes gone by. So it definitely felt like maybe this was going to be a time limit draw. And at one point, you had Dax Harwood applying a sharpshooter to Jon Moxley while Claudio was applying a sharpshooter to Cash Wheeler. They were doing this at the same time, and they ended up breaking their holds. They started fighting with each other, and then FTR went for the Shatter Machine, but as they were doing this, the time limit expired. It was, in fact, a draw. Now, I'm okay with a time limit draw every once in a while, but my big issue with it this time was that they just did a time limit draw with Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland to set up a pay-per-view match. They're basically doing the same angle to set up a rematch, in this case, with these guys. After the match was over, they kept fighting. You had wrestlers and security running down, trying to break them up. And then backstage, FTR issued the challenge for Revolution. Moxley and Claudio tried to get at them. I feel like they should have done something different, considering we just had a time limit draw to set up Page and Swerve versus Joe in a triple threat for the world title. I would have done something different. Feels a little bit lazy to me, a little bit lazy booking from the one-time Booker of the Year, Tony Khan. Just my opinion. Match was good, but it was just a setup for a rematch that you have to pay for. There you go. We had footage of Orange Cassidy at Rev Pro, a promotion in London. AEW really playing up how Orange Cassidy has been a workhorse. He's defending the title, wrestling on a very busy schedule. We had Orange Cassidy versus Mike Bennett, and this kind of feels like WWE booking, where you have the guy who's the champion going through the faction members one at a time until he gets to the leader. It's all right, but it's like, Mike Bennett has no chance in winning, just like Matt Taven had no chance of winning last week. And that match was more entertaining because they were doing a hardcore match with thumbtacks and such. This one was more of a basic match. You had some interference from Matt Taven and then Roderick Strong coming down. Mike Bennett gave Orange Cassidy a low blow. I guess they call it the 5-on-2, if you get that. And Bennett got in some offense, but Orange Cassidy did pick up the win despite taking a spine buster on the apron and a DVD on the floor. Orange Cassidy, just do not pay attention to his size, because he is actually a man made out of steel. He overcame all that and picked up the win with the beach break. And then after the match, you had Matt Taven and Roderick Strong immediately attacking Orange Cassidy. And then we had Jake Hager running down to make the save. I mean, we've all been waiting for Jake Hager, right, to make the big save. And he's going to be on Rampage. Whoop-de-doo. Angelo Parker in a storyline with Ruby Soho, and they're going on a date, but we did not get to see any footage from this date. Maybe they'll show something on Rampage or something. We also had Ric Flair arriving to the building, and he was interviewed by Renee Paquette, and he's not happy. He wanted to be a bigger part of Revolution. I mean, the man is selfish, so why not? He said he's not blaming Sting, though, but he is going to explore his options. And he walked over to the EVP Bucks' locker room door, and they opened it, and he said he wanted to talk, and they invited him in. So the plot thickens. What does this mean? Ric Flair potentially going to turn against Sting because he's not getting enough of the spotlight? Like, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Like, Ric Flair shouldn't really be doing much of anything, but I guess they're trying to build up some tension and make you wonder, like, what's Ric Flair going to do? Is he going to help Sting, or is he going to betray him? Like, I don't know. I don't think Ric Flair needs to be involved in this whatsoever, but I guess they got to utilize Ric Flair, right? They got to find something for him and try and build him up into this, whatever. We had a backstage promo with Paige, Rob Van Dam, and Hook hyping up their 6-man tag team match. Paige was firing them up, but wanted to make sure that they get the job done. Blah, blah, blah. And then we had Toni Storm at just around the 9 o'clock hour. Toni Storm won a squash match. She used Deonna Purazzo's Venus de Milo submission to win. Short match here. And then Deonna came down for her match versus Madison Rayne. There you go, AEW critics. They did 2 women's matches on this show, so now you can stop complaining, even though Toni Storm's match was like a 2-minute squash. So anyways, we had Madison Rayne versus Deonna Purazzo. Is it just me, or was this not a very good match? Like, I thought they were moving very slow, and then at one point, Deonna actually dropped Madison on her head, and it looked like the referee was going to potentially call off the match. Like, they had the trainer come over, and then they finished it. Toni applied the ankle lock, which I guess is Toni Storm's finisher. I don't remember her using it, but shows you how much I pay attention, which is called the break a leg, Hollywood show business, break a leg. So yeah, they each won with the other submission. That was the whole gimmick here. It was more of a competitive match, but I was not a big fan of this whole segment here. So you did have Toni come in. She laid out Deonna and then started applying lipstick on to celebrate her beatdown of Deonna. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Deonna's winning the title, especially with Mercedes Moné coming in. So to me, this is just filler. And then we had Tony Schiavone in the ring with Danny Garcia. Now, for months now, we've been building up. We've been building up to this blow-off match between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. Now, they said that Copeland is not cleared to wrestle, and he's not going to be around for the foreseeable future. So therefore, Danny Garcia is going to be getting the TNT title match with Christian Cage at Revolution. And he talked about, like, he lost his confidence for a while, but then he started dancing and the people picked him back up. They were dancing. Christian Cage came out, said his usual, like, it's kind of played out now, I think. Like, it was edgy, not to use that term purposely, but when he was talking about the dead dads, like, it was like, oh crap. But now it's just like, do something else, So he's talking about Danny Garcia's family brought up his mother and his father, and you know the line, his father's dead, ha ha ha. Ooh, what a burn there. And then of course Danny's pissed off, and Danny's vowing to take the title, yada yada yada. He wanted to fight, but instead of Christian coming down, he sent Nick Wayne. Danny got the upper hand, and then we had Luchasaurus coming down to the ring, but then Daddy Magic hit him from behind with a steel chair and helped out his friend from the Jericho Appreciation Society. I thought they were doing Copeland versus Christian at Revolution, the blow-off match, big stipulation match. So I don't know if Copeland's legitimately hurt or what the deal is here, but I under normal circumstances, this would actually be a good decision to try and elevate one of your younger talents in a big match position. And ultimately, that's what you want to do. But I just feel like they invested so much TV time in Copeland versus Christian, and now we're not getting the blow off at Revolution. And quite frankly, I'm still not sold on Garcia. I know a lot of people think he's a really good wrestler, and he is, but the dancing isn't enough for me. Like when he's out there doing the dancing routine, it reminds me of Lance Storm. Like Lance Storm was a very good technical wrestler, but had like negative charisma that was working against him. And they tried to give him a dancing gimmick in WWE. Try to make him the life of the party, Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky. Didn't work out for him. And they're doing the same thing with Garcia to try to make up for the lack of charisma. They got him doing the dancing gimmick. I'm not sold on it personally. Like he's a good wrestler, but something's still missing, in my opinion, with him. And I don't know what that is. Maybe he'll find it one day, but I'm kind of like whatever as far as this match goes. Like it'll be a good match, of course, but I wanted to see the blow off to Copeland versus Christian. So that's all I got to say on that. And we had a Darby Allin and Sting promo. They were in some room somewhere, and Darby showed some footage of Sting's sons as kids, and Sting came into the frame and said that family is all that matters, and nobody ever messed with his family in his decades in wrestling until the Bucks did. And then Sting got very real here. He brought up how his father passed away about a week ago, and the Bucks are in the fight of their life at Revolution. So yeah, that got very deep very quickly with that Sting promo, bringing up his father. I don't know if Christian Cage is going to feud with Sting at some point, but yeah, this was a deep message from Sting, going into his final match. And this is all they need. They don't need the whole Ric Flair deal. Like, I feel like if anything, Ric Flair involved is just taking away from it at this point. I mean, this was, I think, far better at hyping up the match than the whole little, is Ric Flair going to align with the Bucks deal? Just my take. We also had Don Callis with Powerhouse Hobbs and Takeshita, and he was talking about Will Ospreay, who's coming to Dynamite next week, and also brought up how he has a score to settle with Sammy Guevara. Then we had what I thought was the most interesting part of the show by quite a margin. We had Wardlow storming to the ring, and he's pissed off. Now, I'm not sure what triggered this, why he took so long to do this, but he's pissed off. It's been 2 years since he had that organic momentum. He brought up how thousands of people were chanting his name at every show, and he was the next big thing. But he got screwed over again and again. And he talked about how he never received an opportunity at the world title. He said that people need to be fired or thrown in jail because of that. He said that he beat former world champions, and he didn't mention them by name, but he brought up the best in the world, the so-called real world champion, which of course is CM Punk. He said he beat CM Punk so bad, Punk was never the same, and Punk's body is still falling apart, which is a reference to Punk being injured in WWE. So yeah, Wardlow indirectly brought up Punk, but you knew who he was talking about. And he also brought up MJF. So for people saying, oh, another shot at WWE, well, he's bringing up the world champions of the past. He brought up MJF without saying his name again, saying the guy that thinks he's better than you, and he knows it. He said he squashed that guy worse than anybody has ever. And he talked about Samoa Joe, how he beat up Samoa Joe, and how he, Wardlow, is the most dangerous man in the room. He is the uncrowned king of AEW. He said he's starving, and this is no longer wrestling to him. This is war. I thought this was a really good promo, and I didn't have a problem with him mentioning Punk. He mentioned MJF too. The only thing I would say is, why did this take so long, and what set him off? Like, it just feels random as hell that this night was the night that he finally decided to come out there and vent about not getting his opportunities. Now, Andrew just brought this up. I'm glad you mentioned this, Andrew, because I was about to say something. If you remember 2 years ago, Wardlow came out there and said, I'm not fighting for the world title until we have an undisputed world title or world champion. Remember, this was when CM Punk got hurt, and then Jon Moxley was the interim champion. And Wardlow was like, I'm going to wait until we have a unified champion until I go for the title. And well, he never did. So they never actually had Wardlow in character show up and ask for a title shot. So yeah, it was basically him turning down an opportunity at the world title. And if you guys remember, I criticized that back in the day. I was like, what are you doing here? Like, this guy's red hot. He should be going for the world title. What's the deal? So yeah, it's just weird that now all of a sudden he's mad. But I thought it was a really good promo, and I enjoyed it. I don't know where this is going. Maybe Joe does retain the title, and they're going to do Wardlow versus Joe. Otherwise, like, are they going to do Swerve versus Wardlow? I mean, I guess that's possible. But yeah, one would think that Wardlow's going to be in line for a title match. And I don't know if this means that Wardlow's going to move away from the kingdom. I don't know, but I thought this was the best thing on the show. And we had our main event of the evening, RVD versus Hook, or not versus Hook, RVD and Hook and Hangman Adam Page versus Brian Cage, Swerve Strickland, and Samoa Joe. We had Joe and Hook starting off the match, and then RVD and Cage went at it, and then Swerve and Page went at it. These guys destined to fight forever, as AEW fans would say. And after the commercial break, RVD tagged in, did some of his signature moves, came off the top with the 5-star frog splash to Brian Cage, but Samoa Joe broke it up. And then we had one more break. They worked over RVD for a while, and then Page got a hot tag. Things started to break down. They did a Tower of Doom spot where Cage gave Page a superplex while Hook was giving Cage a German suplex. Of course, these spots always get the big pops from the fans. And then we had Joe and Swerve double teaming Page. Joe came over through the ropes with a dive to Page, but then Swerve accidentally kicked Joe. Swerve got powerbombed through a table by Page. Crowd was chanting, holy shit. RVD tagged in, and Hook suplexed Joe. RVD went for the 5-star frog splash on Joe, but Brian Cage knocked him off the top rope, and then Joe choked out RVD to get the win for his team. So yes, Brian Cage won a match. But yeah, with RVD in it, like, he could easily be the fall guy in this one. So there you go. Brian Cage picks up a victory on Dynamite. Hell has frozen over. it was a good main event. Standard, but good. All in all, like, I thought Dynamite was all right, but not my favorite episode, I have to say. Like, it just feels kind of lifeless right now for whatever reason. I just find myself having difficulty getting into the show. I'm gonna give it a B minus because I really liked the Wardlow promo, and I think they did do some solid build up for the pay-per-view. It'll be a great show. I mean, no question about it. But yeah, I definitely had some trouble like really getting into Dynamite this week. But when Wardlow came out there and started talking, like I was invested. So we'll see what they do. I'm very curious what the follow-up is going to be with that. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I hope you enjoyed the recap. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up on YouTube. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. We'll have Rampage spoilers up. And of course, we got Elimination Chamber. Now, just a quick reminder, no SmackDown recap this week since it's a taped show. Spoilers are over on NoDQ if you want to know what happened on SmackDown. So I will be back Saturday morning. Show starts at 5 Eastern, so sometime between 8 and 9 a.m. Eastern time, I'll be going live. Breakfast with Rift this coming Saturday. You can have your breakfast and watch my recap of Elimination Chamber. Tune in for that. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Stay safe out there and buy a shirt, nodq.com/merch. Say yes to NoDQ, and I will see you all next time.